Hi, and welcome to Matt Holman Talks Mental Health, the podcast where I have the opportunity to sit down and chat to amazing humans about their journeys and their stories with mental health. For this episode, I'm so happy to introduce Mesi Balog to the conversation. Welcome, Mesi.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, lovely to see you. As always, just a very brief introduction from me, how we got to this recording. I'll let you do a proper introduction, let people know a little bit about who you are and what you do. We come from a common area. We both come from the travel industry. So when we started talking about opportunities and things for the future, we sort of had this common connection around conversations of helping people. So I won't share too much more. I'll let you talk a little bit about what you do. But we just decided that it would be nice to get together, have a conversation, let you know, or let the audience know a little bit more about you, Mesi, as well. So if you want to do a little introduction to yourself, tell people about who you are and what you do.
Sure, thanks, Matt. The Amex times connected us together from the past. So basically, I run a company called Treat Your Staff, and we do workplace well-being consultancy and also employee events. So everything from physical well-being to mental health and mindfulness. um, Lovely chair massage from advice on nutrition, what to eat, when to eat, what's healthy, and also lots of talks with expert speakers on anything important to our own health.
Brilliant. Well, everything in there, it ticks all my boxes in terms of, supporting people, well-being, and all the health elements. So no doubt we'll venture into some of those conversations as well and thoughts around it. But as always, the guests that I have the wonderful opportunity to sit down and chat to or listen to tell us a story. So I'm going to ask you to tell us a bit of a story about your journey, experiences with mental health, and I'll let you share what you're willing to share and talk about now.
Sure, thank you. I would start the journey perhaps when 10 years ago I moved from Hungary to the UK. It was actually a very big decision. I always wanted to explore how life abroad feels like, and um, and finally I made the decision to move abroad. Actually, next January, I'm going to celebrate my 10th anniversary in this country, so big time. And um, and when I came to the UK, I was desperate to get a marketing job, and I was I was doing everything to continue my career, what I was doing back home. But I had to realize it was a bit tougher than I thought. Also, some people may not experience this in the UK, but when you actually do not speak English as your first language and you move to a country where they do, is is not easy to realize, like, obstacles and what a struggle it can be, for a newcomer to, on one hand, to understand other people, and on the other hand, to talk and make your views and stuff, and then the different accents coming, and then you struggle and you don't understand, and I think it makes like a lot of strength and effort to kind of like keep going, right? So many people say you move to another country and then maybe like in a year or year and a half, that's the turning point when most people kind of like, you can say it's give up, but in a way it's giving up, in a way it's a decision that they just decide it's not for them, or for whatever reason they move back to their own country. So I think for every foreigner who moves here, you should be like a pretty like strong like reason why you feel you want to stay, and that will keep you going even after someone is asking you back for like the fourth time. What did you just say? Sorry, can you please repeat? And then you're like, sure, we just don't understand each other. So yeah, that kept me going and then made me kind of like progress slowly. So that was the first obstacle, I think, what I should overcome. And then after getting into a job for a year and a half, where I learned a lot about like UK life here and everything. That's when I finally got to Amex. And that was, 2015 or so. And yeah, that's where the big journey started with a big corporation, with a big company. Back then, it was the time when they started to separate the travel business from the credit card side of things. So it was massive chaos, like behind the scenes, and trying to work around the transformation, the whole project with the separation and teams working together, separating like offices, teams, people. It was really like challenging, and the new way of working for me, to be honest. But yeah, so I made that through. Then we moved to Canary Wharf, and yeah, I got to know the amazing world of business travel, which was actually new to me back then. Um, and yeah, pretty challenging times from me being an executive assistant, kind of like sliding slowly into the marketing era, which I kind of like always wanted. So I did extra work. I had a secondment with the meetings and events team. I was working weekends. I was helping them. I went to conferences abroad because I was just passionate and I wanted to try myself. I wanted to get to know the teams, the people. So I think pretty much most of the days for the first 2 years or 2.5, I think I was the very last person who left the building. I know every cleaner. I know I knew the people who came after hours to clean the offices. I knew the security people. They sometimes came upstairs checking, oh, is this someone still here?
Yeah.
Like 10 p.m. and things like that, like 10:30. So yeah, I was very passionate. I wanted to do the most. I wanted to get to know like everyone and everything. I was working many times with the US people until late. And yeah, that was a nice journey. And I need to say thank you to my previous boss who was Christoph, and he was VP Technologies who hired me back then. And he was very kind and gave me a chance to kind of like getting involved into other teams and getting to do basically extra work and just to try myself really with the marketing team, with the comms team, with the events team, and that gave me like really great experience. And then also the Paysetter Award, which is probably as well. So Amex GBT has this Employee of the Year, like they call it Paysetter Award. They take you to this amazing luxury holiday for a whole week
All right.
if you get the best rating at your year-end performance rating. And I remember like that moment was like really? You guys giving me this award? Like, how do I, like, I don't deserve this. Like, I'm so new to this company. Like, there are people here who are working for this great company for like 30 years. And is it me really who get to go there? And it's like a couple of hundred people, like globally. So it was not me alone, but still, I felt like really uncomfortable. It absolutely didn't feel like I deserve it. And I was like, oh my God, people might hate me, like that I got this like amazing thing. But I was wrong. Like everyone was really welcoming. They were happy for me. And I remember what my boss said when I was looking at him. When he told me like you got this award, I was like, what? Like I was shocked. And he said, Meshi, like you always have to compare yourself to your own journey. So look how far you've come from the day one when you started at this company. And that was like such an amazing feeling. And then made me think like, oh, okay. So I don't need to compare myself to others, the only thing matters is actually your own journey. And it doesn't matter, that I moved to a new country and I moved, I don't know, when I was 29. I could have moved when I was 18, but I did not. My life was, on a different path, on a different journey. But like as time passes by, you kind of like learn to, appreciate your own self and understand what your own journey is and kind of like be happy with where you are and what you accomplish. So yeah, that was a great big achievement, and I was very proud and very happy that people appreciated me at Amex, and it just made me you know, it gave me like a confirmation that it's worth
Yeah.
to fight, it's worth to keep going and to do more and go beyond.
Amazing. Well, I find it fascinating. There's so many things I want to sort of talk about and ask you about in there, because I think, if it's okay, I'd like to just sort of go back to the very beginning
Yeah,
of
of course.
just to ask a couple of questions, really. And the first one is about you moving here, you know, to England, to the UK. And you said it was a struggle at first. Did you have anybody around you at the time? Did you come on your own? Did you come with others? Did you have friends or family already here? What was the sort of situation for you when you, I guess, landed in the UK? How did that sort of play out for you?
Yeah. No, I had no one. I mean, no family. I was a member in a student organization called ISEC. It's similar to Erasmus. They do student exchanges, like
Okay, yeah,
a global student organization, like in many countries.
yeah.
And lots of my ISEC friends from uni, they were here. So it was more like a friendship circle, so to say. And yeah, but basically no family. So my inner like big reason why I moved was like I wanted to kind of like start a new life. I was jumping out from a very long relationship which I wanted to close and start a new chapter. So I decided whatever it takes, I'll move.
That's quite a move, right? So it's moving country, moving to another environment. I think you mentioned about the languages at the beginning as well. Obviously, that was a little bit more challenging. It's interesting because obviously there's a lot of people out there who have moved countries in their lives, and come into wherever it is, whether they're going into England or going out into Europe or the rest of the world. And language is a big part, right? What about culturally as well? Because I don't know much about sort of your background culturally. Sort of what was the expectations, I guess, is probably the biggest question I can ask from a cultural perspective for you.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one. So I'll be very honest with you, and I don't wanna like make them like look like anything, I don't know, bad or something, but it's maybe we just talk about the difference. But Eastern Europe or Central Europe can be a bit different in terms of how people think, or how people think about not just themselves, but just generally how they see the world. And probably it's also historical times and also like generations, how people are raised and what's around us. But I would say it's a little bit close-minded, or a bit more close-minded than when you move to the Western countries a bit more. It's not that much diversity there as well. So diversity here in London for me, that was like mind blowing and very new. And how mixed this whole society is.
Yeah.
And someone told me this, that London is some kind of melting pot. That all the different people from all the different countries just come here and end up here, and trying to make their dreams come true. Um, but yeah, very different culturally. So just one thing, like the pace itself
Yeah.
is incredible here, like comparing to what's there. Like here, I think today's corporate culture, we are nearly at the live, like same moment email, same hour email, like someone like sends you something, you immediately jump on it, you immediately on it. Uh, like back home, maybe you get an answer in 2, 3 days, and that's fine. And here, if someone is not responding to you same day, you start worrying, oh my God, like what's going on? Like yours look very different. So yeah, pace, culture, way of thinking, openness, diversity, all of it.
Yeah, I love it. I find it fascinating. I've traveled for many, many years, and I've always found cultural differences is quite interesting. But you're right, when you go into a city, or you go into even big businesses or organizations, not necessarily big businesses have multicultural, society within that, with the communities. And something that a lot of companies obviously will struggle with is how do we support all the communities? How do we support
Oh,
every
exactly. Yeah.
from different experiences and backgrounds. And I think this is linking quite nicely into sort of where your direction's going now with treat your staff, you know, because that's what I wanted to talk to you about, that because you're a unique individual who has an experience of, you know, many different factors within the workplace. You've had that struggle at the very beginning to find the work that you wanted to. You've managed to get into a role in a corporate, which then was something that you were really excited and eager and keen and, you know, energized to do. There's some concerns in there that I will say, when you say about the working extended hours, you know, that's something that I'm always a little bit, you know, concerned about, because working extended hours obviously means you're giving so much more of yourself than maybe sometimes employers deserve. And I don't mean that your employer at the time didn't deserve it, but it's just one of those challenges, isn't it? Did you ever get to a point, so that leads into this question, and then we'll talk about your business, but did you
Yeah.
ever get to a point where you were absolutely shattered, where you were really tired, where there was just, you felt you've done too much? Did you ever get to that?
Oh yeah, I did.
Right, that's a good
And
answer.
I'll be honest, I also struggled a little bit with someone at work who was,
Okay.
I tried to phrase it nicely, was not too kind in terms of how we should have or could have collaborated at the very beginning. And um yeah, it made made my life a bit of a struggle sometimes. Um and Yeah, probably this a factor, and also like the extended hours, as you said, did lead to a point. I think I was like 6 months in or something at GBT when I was very, very close to the point when I say like I can't go on like that. And at that point, all my friends, everyone, even my family, I had discussions back home. Like they said, it's not worth it. Just like when you reach a point, you reach a point, just go, like leave. This is not, I'll be honest, I had like for me to release stress was like crying, and I had like that many times happening to me um after hours or when I was going home, and I felt like I must keep going because I was new to the country. In a
Mm,
way, I felt um like this company and this big brand is my chance in a way, you know, to kind of like stay here and stay strong and keep going. And that was hard times. And what was really really amazing, that in a way I managed to kind of overcome this conflict with this other colleague at work, because I decided to choose a strategy which I never managed to actually accomplish in my life. When you turn a new page and you say, okay, it's a new page from tomorrow, and I close my eyes and I forget everything you did to me. I forget everything you said to me, and I forget that you wanted to, you know, get me out of this company, that you really were behaving not nicely to me. And I managed to do that. I shifted my mindset, and I think that that made me feel, you know, really strong.
yeah.
And it was fascinating to see how others react when you know, when you completely change your attitude, your behavior. And I remember that poor woman, and she was in shock. She just couldn't handle the situation. I decided that morning, I remember, I entered the glass doors of the office building and I said, okay, you know what I'm gonna do? We were not even talking to each other. It was crazy. Like people were talking about it. It was that conflict, you know, when the air is like vibing between us. It was so
Inflated.
negative.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna go into this office and I'm gonna smile into her face and I'm gonna ask how she is and I'm gonna listen to her stories and I'm gonna just shift. And I remember she was looking at me like she just couldn't deal with the whole thing. The situation was, you know, at that point really, really not good.
Yeah.
But you know, at the workplace, you just can't like go on like that. But I was younger than her, she was more senior. So I found it really, really, really challenging. But from that day, I knew, okay, I'm strong enough. I could do one day. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna win this whole thing. And that's how I'm gonna win because it's my kind of like battle.
Mm,
And guess what? I don't know, in a couple of months' time, she was actually like sent like with, you know, whatever circumstances, doesn't really matter, but she left the company. And I remember that day, I was like, seriously?
Turned.
Okay, so it was worth it. And yeah, and then a new era started. And that's
Yeah.
100% honest now. You know, when you're in this toxic type of thing environment, and it's usually
Yep.
people who causing the toxicness. It's usually not your job, not your work, not your, I don't know, like, I don't know, stress related stuff with an Excel file. It's usually the people. And it made me feel okay, like it was worth to keep going. And after that point, I just felt more balanced and new opportunities came. And that was a very different era, but not too many people know about this story. And I had a few people who supported me during this journey, but because I was new, I didn't really make a big fuss about it, because I thought, well, I should just, you know, like sit on my mouth and keep going because I'm new at the company and I'm young. um, but yeah, I do have different thoughts about this, and probably if I would experience this second time, I would act differently. But yeah, that's our journey. So yeah.
Incredible. And you know, so you've shared some really insightful things around the sort of experience of being in the workplace, which lots of people will go through, right? Relationships with others, you know, unfortunately we're not all made to connect with each other that well. You know, so people have different personalities, they different, you know, different way they see the world, the perspective's very different. And I always think of, you know, within the mental health world that I work in, we talk about a thing called the frame of reference, which is defined by all of the experiences of somebody's life, right? So that could be many different factors. It's not one variable that makes us different from another. It's multiples of those. So what I really love there, Meshi, is when you said you changed your mindset. And you know, there is a big thing about you can't change other people's attitudes and opinions, but you can change yours. So you can change your, which is the only one you can change, by looking at it and going, okay, what do I want to do? You know, the best thing to do in a conflict is send love to the other person rather than trying to fight them, because that throws them off kilter and it destabilizes them a little bit more, because they're like, why is this person liking me or talking to? So I think that's brilliant. I am conscious of time. We've got a few more minutes,
Okay.
and I do want to talk about what you've done, because obviously you've left Amex GBT now and
Yes.
you're doing your own thing, which I think is amazing, and I love that, and I really want to sort of explore that. But talk to us a little bit more about sort of that transition from corporate world to where you are now, maybe some of the challenges that you might have had, and you know, what you want to do for the future. So there you go, that's a big question. You've got a couple of minutes to answer.
Okay. Thank you. Sure. Sure. Yes. So this year, 2023, is the year of the change for me. I left GBT after nearly 8 years, actually, in February. So and since then I got to a realization of starting my own business. The whole thing came from my actually past like year and a half too, when I was working on employee engagement with the UK leadership team at GBT, on trying to get people back to the offices, like trying to work on the culture after the pandemic, and just generally organize, you know, like sports events or anything what would engage people a bit more, you know, like surviving the pandemic and like basically start living in this new era. um, and one of the big highlights for me from this period was that we organized a massive big event, which was a wellness week last year. And that was like an event for all UK workforce. Like we talk around 2,000 people approximately, in different offices in London, Glasgow, and Manchester. And the main idea was to cover all areas of well-being. So basically, physical well-being, mental health, mindfulness, and also financial well-being. Each day had a different pillar. Each day we had different expert speakers. We had sessions. We had panel discussions with our suppliers. They were involved. We were talking about employee well-being, traveler well-being, what it means today, what it means after the pandemic, how people react, how people think differently. And that event was massive success last year, and that made me think, okay, I was really, really enjoying working with these people, sharing experiences, talking about my own journey, my own experience, and it just made me think, okay, it's time to set up my own business. So yeah, and then in March the journey started with Treat Your Stuff, the name I was thinking for like I think 4 months in my life. It would
Yeah.
be the best name for my new company. And I remember I just woke up like I don't know, like 5 a.m. in the middle of the night, like one of the evening, because my brain was all about like, okay, let's be creative, let's be mindful. Sorry, and it just came to me, Treat Your Stuff. And I'm like, that's it. Stop thinking.
Amazing.
Maybe the name could be better, but it just came to me like in my dreams, and I'm like, okay, that's gonna be the name of my company. And yeah, like long story short, since March, the journey is on. So jumping out of the corporate world into a completely new era, which I never experienced, and working as your own boss is as amazing and beautiful and good sounding as challenging.
Oh yeah,
Let's say
there's a balance, isn't there? Yeah.
you can relate, you can relate.
Yeah.
So yeah, but honestly, making the jump, I think it's one thing. And I was very proud and very excited. I was on the top in March when I was like, I'm doing this company, and I got the limited company papers, and I was incredibly excited. To now, which is September, when I'm feeling honestly the maybe the second time or the first time when I'm really engaged, and I'm like, okay, I have like a few months behind me, like up and down, thinking about, is this really for me? Is this maybe not for me? Talking about this with my dad, who sarcastically is telling you, well, honey, maybe you need a boss. Maybe this is not for you. Maybe that's not something you should explore. And you're like there crying out your eyes, and you're like, no,
That's your
this is
motivation then to do it, to carry on, isn't it? Prove
exactly.
people wrong. Prove people wrong.
Exactly. And then you're like, no way, I am doing this. So yeah, it's a journey, and I had like up and down moments with the whole thing, and days when I was talking about it as a struggle, and then days when I was like, I'm a tiger. I look into the mirror and I'm saying, okay, I'm gonna do this. So yeah, on this note, I'm encouraging every single person who is listening to this podcast, try and do your own business and fight for your passion, and don't hesitate and don't wait. And what I think is really important to know that you are not alone. You always have a support network around you, like you, Matt, like my previous colleagues, my teams, my people, the therapists I'm working with, every single person who does their passion is just so inspiring and amazing, I think. And it gives you strength. It gives you I don't know, something to keep you going in a way when you feel like maybe it's a tough day, maybe it's hard, maybe you question if you can do it or if you can't. Um, but it's just very, very inspiring, I found, especially in the UK, to be honest.
Yeah, amazing. And it's a lonely space sometimes being a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, and starting your own thing. It takes a lot of guts, to put yourself into that position and, going from, especially moving from a big corporate to a world where, there's a lot of uncertainty and there's no guarantees in that world. But keep passionate. That's the key, isn't it? And I think that if you retain the passion, that's what I've always thought about with my business as well. It's like I still feel as passionate today as I did at the beginning. I probably feel more passionate now about it because I've found my purpose, my cause, my thing, and my groove. So, and that's what I would just say to you, Mesi, is keep doing it. And also, you're right, connecting with others in that world, in that space, who are doing it themselves, it's really important too. It's the only thing we can sometimes, when we're feeling lonely, remember there's others who feel lonely. So if we connect, maybe we're not as lonely as we were. So brilliant. We are right at the end. I always like to just leave it with one final thought from my guest, whether that's a quote or a thought or a statement you want to share. But feel free. Any final thought?
Yeah, so my final thought would be what this whole journey taught me, I think, in the last 10 years since I moved to this country is um, always start the journey within you, and that's where everything starts. When you get to the point to realize as you said as well, to change things around you um, is maybe hard and challenging. And once you realize it starts with you and it starts within you, that's when you're gonna win. So yeah, the journey starts within you.
Okay. No, I love that. Your journey starts within you. So absolutely true. I totally agree with it as well. Mesi, thank you so much for joining me on this. I've really enjoyed listening to you, and it's been interesting to sort of hear more about your experiences and everything else. I hope you found it useful too. But yeah, thanks very much. Just really appreciate it. So look after yourself. Good luck with treat your staff, and
Thank you.
everything else. I'll keep track and see how things progress. I'll drop the links to it as well. So anybody that's listening wants to check it out, feel free, just check it out in the post to this as well. So thank you, Mesi. It's been a pleasure. Look after yourself. Take care.
Thank you.